All over the world, training aids are used by professionals and amateurs alike to improve the golf swing and to help right any technical issues. With so many on the market, it's hard to know which one could benefit you, so we tasked Golfing World's Matt Rose and professional golfer Iona Stephen with digging deeper.
Iona, we've seen a lot of technology evolve in golf over the past few years, especially in terms of training aids. And for you personally, obviously, when you're using training aids and practicing, what do you use and how often do you use them?
The training aids I've used have changed over time depending on what I'm working on in my swing. And I think the same would be for most players really. You know, we're never working on the same thing throughout our whole careers in golf. So I've tried many things, to be honest, probably too many, but there are certainly always new ones coming to the market. So it's difficult not to get sucked in by some of them.
How do you see new ones? You know, do people tell you about them? Is it kind of word of mouth? That sort
Yeah,
of thing?
I think you see other players using them. You know, social media is obviously a huge thing, and you kind of keep an eye on what other players are doing. My coach Hugh, I'd maybe see him using a training aid with another player, and I'd think that looks good. You know, let me have a shot at that. There's been one training aid in particular that I've kind of used.
Come on.
And it's quite rogue. It's called the swing shirt.
Right.
Basically, it's a shirt you put on that's got this kind of trunk that you slot your arms through, and it allows you to keep connection between your arms and your body. And in my swing, I tend to get, my arms can kind of do their own thing at the top of the backswing, get quite disconnected from my body. So it's been a great training aid for me. And it lives somewhere in the depths of my bag at all times.
So you bring it around with you in your bag?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point about training aids, because you do get some enormous training aids which are just really impractical, and while they might look good at the time, when amateurs or professionals, obviously professionals have more time to practice, but even still, I think the sort of time element and how long it takes to get it out the bag and set it up can be a real factor in training aids, and ones that work.
You know, we were talking a bit about technology and how that's moved in the game. The swing shirt?
Yeah,
the swing shirt sounds a very kind of simple idea. That is just a piece of clothing. But what about the more kind of, with your phone and with all the data that you can now get off training aids?
Sure, technology is continually advancing, and now with the phone and the iPad, like you say, TrackMan's obviously leading the way with data and various other kind of distance measuring devices. But I think now there are ways that you can kind of biomechanically measure your swing, and certainly there are some products coming to market that really are going into this in a big way.
It's great having all that data, but it's one thing to process it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you need coaches and players who can both understand that data. Otherwise, it's useless, and you could well be doing more damage, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is a challenge for coaches to kind of know how much data to give their players. Some players want to know absolutely everything, down to all the data on TrackMan, and some coaches will limit the amount of information and data they give to their players. I think that with training aids, the same thing applies. For me personally, less is more. I'm trying to simplify things all the time.
What about the worst training aid you've ever seen?
I'm trying to think.
If you could pinpoint one.
I think in putting there's an overload of training aids.
A lot of mirrors in putting, aren't
A
there?
lot of mirrors that break very easily, so they never last more than a couple of weeks. But mirrors are great because it helps you with your posture and your setup. And so much of golf is about the setup. And training aids that aid you to make sure you're getting that right consistently can be very good.
One thing I've seen on tour quite a lot recently, particularly with Justin Rose, is this big ball around his neck. I mean, it's sort of this necklace, kind of strange pendant thing. I mean, if you know the one I'm talking about?
I know the exact one you're talking about. Yeah, it's another great training device. A lot of top players using it. Basically a blow-up ball, inflatable ball that has a lanyard attached to it, and it slots in between your arms, and you can use it for a variety of different things. A lot of players will be using that to kind of encourage connection between the body and the arms. Sequencing is a very important thing in the golf swing, and if the arms are getting disconnected from the body, then it's bad news. So that kind of brings your focus back to the chest, back to the center of the body, controlling that movement and the rotation. So how about you, Matt? What training aids do you like to use?
Well, I'm a mid-handicapper,
right.
So I do like a training aid, but to be honest, only with my golf coach, who I don't see very regularly. And I think for me personally, there isn't that much use in me going away and using a training aid without him there, because my knowledge of my own golf swing is not good enough yet to be able to fix things by myself.
Right.
What I do like doing actually when I'm at the range is the golf coach just often leaves his tripod with, you know, your iPhone mount there.
Yes, yes.
And you can just film your own swing, and, you know, it's enjoyable to watch it back and, you know, get feedback. And I think that is a really good way of doing it. I mean, you must watch your swing back all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's an easy trap to fall into, actually, becoming a bit kind of aesthetically obsessed. You know, golf is a game of feel, and
no pictures on scorecards.
this is it. This is right, Matt. And I think there's so many, you know, fantastic golf swings in the men's and women's games. It's hard not to aspire to swing the club like that. So you're kind of saying that you lack a bit of confidence, really, in using a training aid on your own?
I would definitely say that. Or maybe I just haven't found the right training aid that is simple enough, perhaps, like you mentioned with the swing skirt.
Yeah.
Something that really, there isn't much that can go wrong with that.
Yeah.
You kind of know exactly what's going on.
So I think we're in agreement, Matt. Simple is best.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with my game, mid-handicapper. I don't want to get overwhelmed with all the training aids that are out there. But I'm going to have a look on Google, and I'm sure you guys will as well.